Alright, this is how to install MySQL and Workbench in Windows 11, fast and easy. First, look up MySQL in your preferred search engine and head to its homepage, or go straight to the Downloads page. Here, scroll down a bit and click the MySQL Community Downloads link. This is where the free tools provided by MySQL are listed, including the Windows installer needed for setup. Click the MySQL Community Server link. Then here, select the preferred version from the dropdown. Usually, the latest one is fine. Under Operating System, choose Microsoft Windows. Now click the MSI Installer download button on the first row. It's the easiest option for setting up MySQL. On this page, there's an option to log in or sign up for an Oracle account, but that's not required. Just click No thanks, just start my download at the bottom to begin downloading the installer directly. Then after the download finishes, locate the downloaded file and launch it. On the welcome screen, click Next. If you agree with the license terms, click I accept and then Next. Here are three setup types: Typical, Custom, and Complete. Select Custom to see what features can be included or skipped in the installation. Here, the first item is MySQL Server, which includes the core server component that handles all the database operations, and it's essential. Under it, you'll see Client Programs, which are command line tools used to interact with the server. I recommend keeping these checked. Next, you'll find Development Components, which contain headers and libraries for building apps that use MySQL. These can be skipped if you're not planning to do development work. Below the list is the install location. You can click Browse to change it, or simply leave it as is. Once everything looks good, click Next to continue. Then click Install to start the installation. Once the installation finishes, click Finish to launch the MySQL Server configurator. Now this is the configuration wizard that sets up how the MySQL Server will run on the system. Just click Next to proceed with the configuration steps. Here is the data directory step. This is where MySQL will store its database files. By default, it points to a safe system directory. Change it only if there's a specific reason or storage preference. Otherwise, just leave it as is and click Next to continue. Here is the type and networking section. This controls how the MySQL server behaves and how it's accessed. For config type, leave it as development computer unless you're setting this up on a server, or change it to server computer if this machine is running web or app services alongside MySQL. Dedicated computer is for setups where this machine is used only for MySQL. This is best for production environments. Manual is for advanced users who want to edit config files directly. Skip this unless you know what you're doing. Under connectivity, TCP/IP is checked by default. This allows apps to connect to the database over a network. Keep Open Windows firewall ports checked unless you plan to restrict access manually. Leave named pipe and shared memory unchecked unless you're using those methods specifically. Then click Next to continue. Here, you're asked to set a root password. This is the main admin account for your MySQL server. Use a strong password you'll remember. This account has full access. I'll be using a simple password just for the sake of demonstration. If you want to create additional users now, click Add User. In this pop-up, you can specify the username, host, role, and password. For beginners, you can leave host as all hosts. This allows connections from any machine. Under role, you'll find a drop-down with predefined permissions like DB admin, backup admin, and so on. Each one has different access levels. If you're unsure, DB admin is a safe choice for full database control. Enter and confirm the new user's password, then click OK to add the user. Once you're done adding users, click Next to proceed. Here, you're configuring MySQL as a Windows service, so it can run automatically in the background. You can leave the service name as is, or rename it if you want to run multiple MySQL versions later. Keep Start the MySQL server at system startup, checked if you want MySQL to run as soon as Windows boots. For most setups, standard system account is the right option. No changes needed. Click Next to continue. Here you're setting who can access the server's data directory. The default option is safest. It gives full access to the system and admin group, but blocks everyone else. Only change this if you know you need custom access settings. Click Next to continue. Here you can choose to install sample databases, Sequila, or World. These are just demo databases used for learning and testing. If you're just getting started or want a clean setup, you can leave both unchecked. Click Next to continue. Then click Execute to apply all the changes and run the configuration steps. This includes setting firewall rules, initializing the database, starting the server, and more. Once all steps are marked complete, click Next to finish. Alright, the first part is done. As you see, you can now access MySQL command line client and MySQL configurator from the Start menu. The command line client lets you interact with your databases using SQL commands, while the configurator is for tweaking server settings and managing configuration options. Next, let's install MySQL Workbench so you can manage databases with a visual interface instead of just the command line. Look up MySQL again in your preferred search engine and head to or go straight to the community downloads page. Here select the MySQL Workbench link, then make sure Microsoft Windows is selected as the OS. And under other downloads, click the download button for the MSI installer. Just like before, skip the Oracle login by clicking No Thanks. Then look up the downloaded Workbench installation file and launch it. In the welcome screen, click Next. Choose an installation location or leave it as is, then click Next. Here, let's look under the hood. Select Custom Installation. Okay, not much here. Just the essential Workbench files and a shortcut. Click Next to continue. Then click Install to start the installation. Once that's done, click Finish, and you're in. Click your local MySQL connection on the left to launch the Workbench and start managing your databases with a GUI interface. Enter the password you set earlier for the root user during MySQL Server setup. Then click OK to connect and start using MySQL Workbench. If this screen pops out, it's just a version mismatch warning. MySQL Workbench isn't fully optimized for Server 9.2 yet, but basic features should still work fine. To avoid this warning, before downloading MySQL Server, select version 8 instead of 9. It's the most compatible with Workbench right now. Click Continue anyway to proceed. And there it is, MySQL Workbench up and running. You can now use this interface to create databases, write queries, and manage your MySQL server without needing to touch the command line. If you found this guide helpful, please hit the like button and subscribe for more tech tutorials. See you in the next video.